We are
Wonder
live.
why. Oh.
Just an FYI, we are live.
There's the gang.
And just a quick note, thank you guys for the break in between the sessions. Everything is up and broadcasting. I appreciate it.
Hi, Kim. Hey, Tom, what are you eating there?
We're live, Don.
Those cookies are dinner for you.
We're on the
Reminder
air.
to everybody that you are live.
Lost our mayor. Are we ready to go?
Eric, when do you want to open this meeting?
Sir, whenever you're ready. I'm not seeing a couple of council members absent, but I'm sure they'll be on here in a moment.
Okay, let's call this meeting to order. City of North Kansas City, Missouri, regular council meeting and a motion to close part of the meeting, December the 15th, 2020. Call roll.
Councilmember Stewart.
Present.
Councilmember Clark.
Here.
Excuse me, Councilmember Farr.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong.
Here.
Councilmember Saper.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Tull.
Here.
Councilmember Clevenger.
Here.
Thank you. I'd like to ask everyone to remain silent while Councilmember Stewart leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Stewart, are you muted?
Okay, I'll start that again. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The next item is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Stewart,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Farr,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong,
Yes.
Councilmember Saper,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Tull,
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. The next item is comments from the public. Ms. Nakahoto, is there anyone from the public who is asking to be recognized to make a comment?
If there is anybody who is attending this meeting, please use the raise hand feature to express that you would like to give a comment on this time. If you are calling in, please use the *9 feature. Mr. Berlin, we do have somebody who has used the raise hand feature. Ms. West, please go ahead and give your comment at this time.
All right, I'm a little nervous because I haven't done this before. Can you guys all hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
we
ma'am.
sure can.
Okay, super. So and as most of you know, I'm a cyclist, so that's kind of where my thing comes from. And I knew that the armor project was going to come up, and I'm really disappointed by the comments I heard tonight. It's obvious that very few people have walked them or cycled them. The thing that was really concerning to me is the sloped island idea. That's so dangerous to pedestrians or cyclists or anybody waiting to cross the street. And that's the whole point to having that curb. And Mr. Safer was smart in saying that we need to be careful about how much money we spend. And why aren't those curbs painted? I've had neighbors who know that I use the streets a lot, and they've asked me the same thing. Why aren't they painted? And I was driving down the street recently, and it was one of the gray days that we had. And I ran into the same problem because I was turning on the iron, and it is difficult to see the curves. So why don't we just talk about doing something that's really inexpensive and see if that helps some. And I also find it really interesting that some people feel like the bike lanes don't get used. We held 2 community rides for families and residents this fall, and we limited them to 20 riders each time. And both times the spots filled within a day. Residents want to use the bike lanes, but they need to feel safe to venture out into them. So I think that we really need to be careful about the changes and the fixes that we do so that we maintain safety for both pedestrians and cyclists. And the last thing I want to ask is, why don't we have a committee made up of residents who actively walk and cycle, maybe people who walk their dogs and run and things like that, so that they can help make the decisions for armor. I would think that we would want people that actually have experience making those decisions. And if anybody, I always extend this, if anybody wants to go for a walk or anybody wants to go cycle a bike lane, I think most of you know how to get a hold of me. Thank you.
Are there any other attendees that would like to express a comment from the public? All you need to do is use the raise hand feature or hit *9 on your phone at this time. Mr. Berlin, I'm not seeing anybody else that would like to provide a public comment at this time.
Thank you. The next item is a consent agenda consisting of one item, the approval of regular council meeting minutes from December 1st, 2020. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Councilmember Stewart,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Farr,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong,
Yes.
Councilmember Saper,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Tull,
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger.
Yes, ma'am.
8-0, motion carried. Item number 7, presentation, ETC Institute Leading the Way Award.
Thank you. City of North Kansas City has just recently received the Leading the Way Award from ETC Institute, who is the company who performs our surveys of satisfaction of both residents and businesses. Recipients of the award rank in the top 10% of all cities and counties in the United States with regard to their composite performance in 3 core areas that are assessed on the ETC's Direction Finder survey. And Jason Morato, who's the Director of Community Research for ETC, is here to discuss the award further with the City Council. So, Mr. Morato.
Thanks, Eric. So yes, my name is Jason Morato. I'm the Director of Community Research at ETC Institute. And I'm here on behalf of ETC Institute to congratulate the City of North Kansas City for winning our Leading the Way Award. The reason ETC Institute's Leading the Way Award was created was in order to recognize local governments for outstanding achievement in delivering services to residents. This award is given to cities that rank in the top 10% of all local governments across the United States in 3 key areas that are assessed on ETC Institute's Direction Finder survey. Those 3 areas are how satisfied residents are with the overall quality of city services, satisfaction with the customer service provided by city employees, and satisfaction with the value residents feel they receive for city taxes and fees. Now, I want to give just a little background about this award. Since 1999, ETC Institute's Direction Finder survey has been administered to nearly 2 million residents in all 50 states. Now, although we've provided benchmarking data for over 20 years that has allowed cities to compare themselves against other cities, we haven't formally recognized the top performers until this year. Now, I want to mention a few of the results from your survey that really highlight why the city's receiving this award. 91% of North Kansas City residents were satisfied with the overall quality of city services, and the national average is only 48%. So that's almost double the national average as far as those who are satisfied with the overall quality of city services. 83% of North Kansas City residents were satisfied with customer service that's provided by city employees. The national average is only 42%. So again, you're almost double the national average when it comes to customer service from city employees. And 82% of North Kansas City residents were satisfied with the value they feel they receive for city taxes and fees. And that is more than double the national average, which is only 37%. So these are really outstanding numbers. And the reason the City of North Kansas City is receiving this Leading the Way award is because of these 3 key areas. But what's also impressive is how well the city's performed in a wide variety of different areas. In fact, there are a total of 20 different areas where North Kansas City ranked in the top 10% nationwide, which is really, really amazing. Now, I mentioned earlier that we haven't formally recognized the top performers until this year. And the City of North Kansas City was one of only 16 cities nationwide who was part of this very first class of recipients for ETC Institute's Leading the Way Award. So this is a really fantastic accomplishment. And once again, I just want to congratulate the mayor, city council, and city staff for these really, really outstanding achievements. So I don't know if anyone has any questions about the award or anything, but if so, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any comments or questions? No.
I would just say that is really, really awesome and well done to city administration and staff. It's just an excellent honor. Way to go.
All right. Well, Mr. Morato, thank you very much for being here. And I can tell you, Mayor and Council, that is one heavy award. I think 11 pounds. We'll put it in our trophy case, and hopefully we'll have others to be able to join it in future years. So thank you again to ECC Institute for being here tonight to present this award to us.
Great, thanks everyone.
Number 8, North Kansas City Hospital CEO, Dr. Stephen Righteous, COVID-19 update.
Thank you. Dr. Stephen Righteous, the CEO of North Kansas City Hospital, is here to discuss with the council the current impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the community and on North Kansas City Hospital. Dr. Righteous.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I appreciate the opportunity to meet all of you virtually over the past few weeks, and I promise to give you regular updates on how the hospital is faring through this pandemic. I'd like to give you an update on our current census. We have 101 COVID positive patients in the hospital. Now, 70 of those patients are considered actively infectious, and those patients are in isolation. There are 31 patients that are under the category called recovering, meaning they are no longer in isolation. They are no longer infectious, but they're just not well enough to go home. Of our 101 patients, we have 22 people that are in the ICU, and 18 of those people in the ICU are on a ventilator. We continue to have beds available to handle the COVID need, as well as beds available to handle the general healthcare needs of our community. Our staff, I would say, are tired, but they have been given hope this week with the news of a vaccine that's on the cusp of arriving. And I think that we have fought a very good fight, and we still have a lot left in the tank to continue the fight. I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone may have about the hospital.
Councilmember Smith, Stewart, and Clevenger.
Thank you so much for coming on here. 2 questions from me. Is there any specific word that you're able to share right now on vaccines coming to North Kansas City Hospital?
I was on a phone call with the governor, and I can say that the North Kansas City Hospital is enrolled in the Show Me Vax vaccine distribution program. And as of today, we have requested vaccines from the state. We have not received word about when we will get vaccines or how many that we will get. And I'm happy to share that when we do get that information.
Okay, thank you. And then staffing levels, we had talked about when we visited, you talked with some members of the council that beds were not the shortage. The issue was more with staffing. Does that continue to be a constraint?
Yes, we have approached COVID as just one disease, and our team understands that we're here to take care of all the diseases of our community. And because of that, we stay open. Our ER stays open for trauma and stroke and heart attack. So when you take care of the COVID population and you take care of the traumas and the strokes and the heart attacks, the biggest crunch on staffing is on critical care beds, or what we call ICU beds. We've had less of a challenge with telemetry beds or regular floor beds, but we have both the bed capacity and we have the staffing plan to handle what's been presented to us. And we also have our own internal surge plan to use our current workforce to handle whatever increase we may face following the holidays.
Okay. Last question out of me. So I've shared a link to this so that residents in North Kansas City can listen in or review it after the fact. Is there anything you'd specifically say to the residents of North Kansas City that they can do at this point? Like, what is your best advice to residents as we go through the holiday season?
Well, the best is the standard public health recommendations. Wear a mask, social distance, don't gather in crowds, and wash your hands frequently. And we know that works because in the hospital it works. We have people at the bedside who follow those practices and have been safe caring for the patients over the last 8 months.
Thank you, and thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you.
Councilmember Stewart and then Councilmember Clevenger.
Most of mine were answered there, except I'm just curious, is the hospital on a total lockdown?
No,
Okay.
no. So in terms of our visitor policy, we allow visitors if you're having surgery or a procedure, or if you are on a floor that does not have COVID patients. As we talked about in our private conversation, our strategy was to take the COVID patients and cohort them in separate areas of the hospital. So in essence, we have COVID units and we have units where there are no COVID patients at all. In those non-COVID units, yes, there's visitors.
Thank you.
Councilmember Clevenger.
Most of mine were answered as well. I want to first of all thank you, Dr. Righteous, for coming on, and please express, from the council and the city standpoint to your staff, thank you so much for what they're doing. Excited about, getting you the vaccine, hopefully as soon as possible, sooner rather than later, hopefully. You addressed the staffing issues and that you think that you can handle the surge. When you're talking about ICU beds and like the number or percentage, you say that ICU beds are available. Do you have a specific number of how many beds are available, or a percentage of how many of your beds are available to handle anything coming in?
So we have 40 ICU beds. If you visited North Kansas City Hospital a year ago before COVID, we would say that we have 40 ICU beds. And there are times over the last 4 weeks where we have been down to just a handful of those beds. But our team has developed this flex system where we can take other areas of the hospital and convert them to ICU beds. For example, in our recovery rooms have that capacity. So we have a flex capability above the 40 standard beds, and that's why we are able to continue to serve the needs of the heart attacks and the strokes and the trauma victims.
Councilmember Tall.
I just want to thank you again for talking to us separately before this and for coming and speaking now, which I think is so important, because we get a lot of news through the Kansas City Star and other areas about what's going on at KU Med. And some of the feedback that I had when we were talking about how to handle this as a city policy-wise, there was a misconception that we did not have as many patients here as they do in other areas. So I think these numbers of 101 COVID positive patients today in the hospital would surprise some people. And I think it's important that we know as a council and that our residents know that it is here, and that really drives policy. So thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Thank you for your comments. I will say we are serving the needs of our community, and pound for pound, we're doing our share.
Any other questions or comments from council members? Councilmember DeLong.
I just want to thank you for coming on like everyone else this evening. Definitely good to hear what's been going on. Are you still seeing are you still seeing an influx of people coming from rural areas into the hospital as well?
So that's a great question, and I just happen to have that answer. We do stratify our patients by where they originate. And the predominance of our COVID patients are from Clay and Platte County. Third in line would be Jackson County. 20%, or 1 out of 5 patients, do come from rural communities. But I want to tell you that North Kansas City Hospital is the most complex, diverse hospital in Northwest Missouri. We serve Northwest Missouri all the way up to the Iowa border in terms of our cardiac care and our neurologic care. So it would go hand in hand that we would continue to take care of those populations.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. And thank you for coming on tonight.
Thank you all.
Any other questions or comments for Dr. Righteous? Well, Doctor, thank you. So Councilmember Clevenger had asked if we could have you come in on a monthly basis. So I was hoping that you might be able to join us again on January 19th to provide a further update.
I would be happy to. And in the meantime, if anyone has any questions, you can call me directly. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Number 9, Snake Saturday Contract, Fall Event, Resolution number 20-073.
Thank you. On November 17th, the City Council considered an agreement with Northland Festivals for the 2021 Snake Saturday event, which typically is held in March. The agreement included an alternative to the usual parade in case the COVID-19 pandemic would not allow for a standard parade. And at that meeting, the City Council asked Northland Festivals to consider an event in the fall rather than the spring, due to concerns that we would not be out of the woods in terms of COVID by early March. So now before the City Council for consideration is a contract with Northland Festivals for a fall event with some virtual events in the spring. And at this point, I think I would call on JD Green of Northland Festivals to provide any further information about that. JD?
Well, thank you, Council, and thanks for tabling the contract discussion. As you can see from our first proposal of a stationary parade, we too are concerned about COVID. And to add to that, our insurance company requires that we have a COVID mitigation plan for their approval before we even get covered. Anyway, after the last meeting, I've coordinated with vendors, the carnival, local businesses, and the insurance company. We are suggesting Snake Saturday, the parade and festival, be moved to October 23rd. And we actually would like to name it the Spooky Snake Saturday, kind of because it's the weekend before Halloween. There's normally 4 events in the contract which make up Snake Saturday: the parade and festival, the Lad and Lassie event, and the charity cook-off, and the Grand Marshal celebration. Our proposal is to continue a Green Friday celebration as approved at the November 17th City Council meeting. And we would make that on March 13th, 2021, but it's to support our local North Kansas City businesses as best we can. And what we're looking at is selling NKC Party in a Box, utilizing the North Kansas City restaurants, which normally support the Grand Marshal celebration. We wouldn't have a Grand Marshal celebration per se because John Miller was going to be our Grand Marshal at the next parade. And so we're just going to continue to carry him over until he gets to ride on that Snake Saturday float. But the other events, the parade and festival, Lad and Lassie, and a charity cook-off, we can move to the weekend of Friday, October 22nd, Saturday, October 23rd. This is the date that is the first opportunity for the carnival to be available. It's also interesting in comparing numerous other fall festivities. The Renaissance Festival, should they be able to be held, ends the weekend before. The only event, I find this interesting, if you guys know my racing background, the only event we would be going up against, and I don't think it's in any way a challenge to us, but that's Kansas Speedway NASCAR weekend. And we have coordinated with police, fire, and public works, and this weekend will work for them. And of course, I want to add this. This is all subject to the vaccine and the pandemic becoming history.
Councilmember DeLong, and then Councilmember Smith.
I just want to thank JD Green. Yeah, I'm glad we tabled this too. I'm glad you brought it back like this. You know, with the renaming of it, seems like, you know, we've really embracing that. We're going to take it on. So for the vaccine, everything's fine with that. We're going to have a hell of a party in October. So thank you.
Councilmember Smith.
JD, after talking with you on the phone, we said you were going to come up with something great. I love the Spooky Snake Saturday. That's fantastic. One question I have is, I know that we've got an event in the park that weekend as well that blocks off the parking in Mackin and the Parks Department building. And it's a pretty big festival that they have over there, 3,000-4,000 people on average. Is there logistically, city staff, fire, police, is there any conflict there that could be an issue with people maybe spilling over from the parade, coming back to the park, issues with parking enforcement, keeping that lot open for the park event?
I'll jump in, and then JD, if you have any further comments. Councilmember Smith, I hadn't thought about that, been aware of it, but those are certainly things to consider. That might be something to discuss with the Parks and Recreation Department. We certainly have, a lot of time to consider that. So
sure,
perhaps we should take a look at scheduling. I can't make commitments on the behalf of North Kansas City Parks and Recreation, but I think trying to avoid those conflicts would probably be something we would like to try to do. So we can work on that at the staff level. JD, did you have any other thoughts about that?
I think if we all work together, we just make North Kansas City that much better. We don't plan on using anything in the park and rec area. One of the companies I had to coordinate with was Richard Lanning and NT Realty to make sure that parking lot for the carnival would be good. I think we can work with Parks and Rec and make it like Councilman DeLong said, it's going to be a beautiful party and a wonderful event for everybody. So, and to be honest with you, the Lad and Lassie event could possibly slide over to them with some working together. So
sure,
we'll take a look at that, and assuming council approval tonight, we'll meet with Parks and Rec and discuss that further. And thanks for bringing that up. Yeah,
appreciate it.
Move to approve.
Second.
Councilmember Stewart,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Farr,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong,
Yes.
Councilmember Saper. Councilmember Saper, you're muted.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Tull,
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger.
Yes, ma'am.
8-0, motion carried. Number 10, disposition of remaining CARES funding allocation.
Thank you. The city has until December 30th, 2020 to spend down CARES Act funds that it received or return whatever portion is unused to Clay County and eventually back to the federal government. As of this writing, staff calculates an unspent remainder of CARES funds of about $40,000. We actually found an expenditure we hadn't accounted for when we wrote the memo that's in the council packet. So we're just a little under $40,000 now. We, in the memo in your packet, are suggesting that you might consider using the remainder of the funds in a couple of different ways. One, as you know, you've provided 3 grant disbursements to the Northland Assistance Center for distribution to North Kansas City individuals and families that have been affected by COVID-19. You could, if you were of a mind, make one more grant disbursement in an amount that you would designate to the Northland Assistance Center. Just to note, I mean, this is your last opportunity if you want to make a grant to do that with these funds, because after the first of the year, the city is back under the constraint of not to be able to use public funds for charitable purposes. And then the suggestion that we would have would be that whatever remainder there is, we could apply to public safety salaries, which have been determined to be an eligible purpose. And that would then go back into the general fund. It could be used for similar CARES Act purposes after the first of the year, but it would be a general fund item, or we could put it back in the COVID-19 fund and use it for some purpose like that. So that would be our suggestion, and we are ready to take any direction that you might have. Councilmember Tull.
If we make the donate or route some of the funds to Northland Assistance Center, they don't have to have it pushed out by January 1st, do they?
No.
We just need to give it to them.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
That's right. Councilmember DeLong.
No, I think we definitely need to get this money in the hands of people that, are really struggling and really need it. So I would definitely advocate for giving some of this to Northland Assistance Center. I don't have a number. I don't know what number that would be. And that was going to be my question. Lisa got my other question already. Is they don't have to spend it. It just has to be considered an expenditure from us.
Yes, sir.
I mean, so even beyond January 1st, that's still the case.
Once we've distributed it to them and based upon your direction tonight, then yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay. No, then I would definitely support getting more money. I mean, there's the potential for some new bills coming out, but I don't want to, we don't have a lot of time to deliberate on this. And I really don't want to keep taking a chance that Senate's going to do anything. So let's try to get the money in people's hands. That's it.
Sure. I'll call on Councilmember Clevenger. Just to comment very quickly, Councilmember DeLong, the news I'm seeing today about aid to state and local government is not good. From what I am hearing today, Congress is working on a compromise that would not include funding to state and local government. Councilmember Clevenger.
Just a couple of things. I've also kept up on it, being on with the National League of Cities, and they've kept us informed as well. There was a plan, a bipartisan of like $908 billion, which did include funding for states and municipalities. And I think that even got trimmed down to with none with the new bipartisan plan. So, definitely can't see if anything is going to get passed before they leave for the holiday. I am definitely in favor of giving some more money to Northland Assistance Center to help our residents. And then whatever remaining, putting in toward the police and fire salaries of what we can use it for. I don't know if it's far as a number. I mean, we gave them 15,000 each time. If we want to do 10,000 this time, or how you want to work it, but I'm definitely in favor of giving money to Northland Assistance and then putting the rest in for salaries.
Councilmember Smith and then Councilmember Saper.
My understanding, Eric, if we put it toward the salary allowance, that would basically be replacing money that we're spending already. Is that correct? So it's basically replacing revenue?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And the reason I think partially we were giving 15,000 is because there was a time constraint on spending that money. It is unconstrained, or at least there was a perceived constraint on the time to spend that money or to donate it out. So I think we could go a little higher than we had before on sending it to Northland Assistance. I'd say something around 30,000 to Northland, get it to the residents who need it. And then we could do one of two things with the remainder. We could put it toward, basically replacing revenue, or we could set up some kind of final push for what businesses have been pillars of the community for the time we've been under COVID, and do a sliding 5,000 for one that gets the most votes, 3,000 for the second, and 2,000 for the third, and hand those out at the year end. Just a thought off the cuff.
The problem that I would see with that is just that you don't have much time to meet and decide and do those things between now and then.
Yeah, I was thinking it would be a community vote thing, but it may complicate the matter, seeing as we've only got a couple weeks.
Yeah. Councilmember Saper.
The city's in a good position in terms of financially compared to virtually every other city around us. And I would really propose that we get the money to individuals in need and give the entire amount to Northland Assistance Center.
Councilmember DeLong.
Not really. I mean, I would agree with that. I mean, he does have a point. Have we had a large increase in expenses for staffing and for public safety from COVID?
No, sir. No, we've handled with existing personnel.
So yeah, I would agree with that. I don't know if it's possible though. We have to have the money distributed from us, but could we put something on there to try to make it spread out over a couple of months? I don't know. I don't know what the rate of spending is, but
I'm not sure if I'm following your question, sir.
Like if tell Northland Assistance Center, you can distribute 15 in January, 15 in February. I don't know if that might be getting too deep, but I would agree with distributing it all out.
Councilmember Stewart.
I agree with Anthony. I think that's the best way to spend the money. They know where the need is. It's just give them the whole amount. You know, we wasn't out anything that we wouldn't have been out anyway, virus or no virus, you know. So I agree with Anthony on it.
Does anyone have a motion?
I'll second that motion.
Well, I'll make the motion. Makes motion. We get the full amount to Northland Assistance.
One question on that though.
Yes, sir.
Have you had any conversations with Northland Assistance Center?
So staff is not. My understanding is Mayor Stilo had a conversation with the executive director last week. Mayor Stilo.
And she's ready to take this on, and she's fine with this. I mean, I would assume so, but
Mayor.
She indicated to me that she is well equipped to handle it all and handle it right.
Perfect. That's what I just want to make sure since she wasn't on the night. Thank you.
So there's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Councilmember Smith.
I also spoke with Rita just a few hours ago, and she's getting sizable allocations from other cities as well. So they're ready to put this money into action. So.
Any other discussion? Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Stewart.
Absolutely.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes.
Councilmember Farr.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong.
Yes.
Councilmember Saper.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Tull.
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger.
You bet.
8-0, motion carried. Number 11, revised temporary license agreement with Northtown Defco. Bill number 7567, ordinance number 9364.
Thank you. The city currently has a non-exclusive temporary license agreement with Northtown Defco for the parking lot north of 18th Avenue, east of Clay, and west of Swift. The city pays Northtown Defco $350 per month for the use of the parking lot from 5:30 p.m. through 6 a.m. Monday through Friday, and from 5:30 p.m. on Friday through 6 a.m. on Monday. The city was advised recently that due to the imminent closing of the 18th and Swift parking lot for public usage during construction of an apartment building, Northtown Devco will be installing gates at the entrances to that parking lot. Northtown Devco has agreed to keep free public parking available, as is the case now in the evenings and on weekends, if the city pays the cost of installing the gates and the automatic open and close mechanism on the gates. So before council for consideration is a revised license agreement for a 3-year term beginning in January 1st, 2021, and providing for the city to pay for the gates on an amortized basis as indicated in the memo that's in your packet. Staff recommends approval of the revised temporary license agreement. Councilmember DeLong.
Is $60,000 the full cost of the gates?
Yes, sir. $59,987.95. That's my
okay. And automated. This is automated to the point where at a certain point in the evening it automatically opens. This is being remote controlled. Someone's manually having to trigger it to remain open at night. Do you know how that works?
I don't. Mr. Barzee has been the main city intermediary on this. I don't know, Tom, if you have any particular details about exactly how the gates would operate. Tom Barzee, are you there?
I don't see him on the call.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Well, no, sir. I don't know exactly. My guess is it would be something like the gates would, somehow, one way or another, they'd be opened at the appropriate times and they'd remain open until they were closed in the morning.
Okay. Well, where I have a problem with this is what we're talking about doing is having city funds, our residents pay $60,000 for an asset that probably has a useful life of, I don't know, 10 years, maybe a little less. But we're only guaranteed access to it for 3 years. And that's where it kind of rubs me the wrong way is, I would like to see the agreement go out a little bit further. I would even be fine with paying for it all early on. But then if we don't hit 5 years, 7 years, 10 years of contract plus renewals, then some of that clause back, we get paid back for part of the asset that we won't have access to anymore. Because we're paying full cost for this. And this has been a good partnership, and I think this has been good for the area. And I mean, that this is, you know, this parking is important for that area, having it open during this time. I just don't like the idea of contributing full price, paying for the full cost of it, but only being guaranteed access for 3 years. And I assume we have guaranteed access for 3 years, or at least we're paying $60,000. And if Northtown Devco wants to get out of this contract at the end of year 1, we would just be paying for that 1 year, right? That's correct. We would just
Yes, I believe that's correct. And I'm sorry that Mr. Barzee isn't on the call,
yeah.
But I believe that's correct.
So roughly would be paying
I see that Tom Barzee has joined now. So Tom, Councilmember DeLong, well, I had a comment, which perhaps you can speak to regarding the difficulties he's having with paying for this, but having a limited time of 3 years on the for the agreement. And he was also asking if we were to, if Northtown Devco was to end the agreement after, say, a year, would we only be paying for 1 year? So, Tom, if you're there, could you perhaps speak to those questions?
Yes, and I'm sorry for some reason, can you folks hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
my internet went out for a few minutes and I was panicked that I knew that this was coming up. It's my understanding the agreement is for 3 years, okay? And if they came to us and wanted to use it for something else, then it ends at the time that we all agree that it would end. So if it's a year into it and they want to terminate it, they can, but we don't continue to keep paying for it. But that's at their option. I want to make this clear. That's at their option only. That's not the city. We have to go through we're guaranteed for the full 3 years unless they terminate it. Does everyone understand?
So for example, like a year after we sign this agreement, they decide they don't want to no longer be a part of this. We've only paid, we haven't paid the full 60,000 cost for the gates. We would have paid for that 1 year because that's baked into the lease.
Correct.
Okay. And so you were the one going back and forth on this, on negotiations here. There was no interest in going beyond 3 years.
Not really, because what he pointed out, if they decided to go much more than that, the original proposal was this would be 2 years. And, I talked to them and they checked with their people. Richard got back to me and said, we can go 3 years. And he said, the problem is beyond that, it's the cost of, the money to them, so to speak, interest, if you will. And so he said, really, we can't go much beyond 3 years. Now, we did have the discussion of this, that, if we still needed additional parking, we may go back to and have, just our standard license agreement that we have as of today, if you will, meaning, like 350 or whatever the number might be a month. And it would be just, for whatever time, it wouldn't be a specific time period any longer. Okay. I don't know if that helps you any, Councilman DeLong. In other words, they're certainly willing to talk to us about having additional time in what you would call a more standard license agreement. They just didn't want to break the $60,000 up over 4, 5, 6, 8, or maybe even 10 years. Okay.
That part I fully understand. No, my concern was just if we pay $60,000 at the end of year 3, and then they build something at the corner of Armour and Swift, and then say, oh, well, we need this parking at night now for some reason, and you don't have access to this parking lot anymore. Well, we now paid $60,000 for something that we no longer have access to. This still has many years of shelf life left on it.
That is absolutely true.
And that's where this kind of rubs me a little bit the wrong way.
Okay.
And that's more just commentary than question for you at that point, but thank you for answering those.
Councilmember Stewart.
I think I know the answer to this, but maybe sarcastic. I don't know. At the end of 3 years, if they want to end it, can we take our gate with us?
We'll take that as a rhetorical question, sir.
Yes, that's what it was.
Are there any other council questions or comments?
Move to approve.
Second.
Is there any other discussion? Call the roll, please.
Lisa Tull, were you raising your hand?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was late. Sorry, Eric. I was just going to say I understand everything that Bryant was saying and concerns. I just feel like we don't really have much of a choice right now. So I'm happy that we were able to make this work.
Okay, and this motion will be for the first reading, correct? Okay.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Councilmember Stewart,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Farr,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong,
Yes.
Councilmember Saper,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Tull,
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger.
Yes, ma'am.
An ordinance adopting and approving a non-exclusive temporary license agreement by and between the city of North Kansas City, Missouri as licensee and 127 Swift LLC and 401 Armor LLC, collectively licensor for the temporary use of a certain parking lot owned by licensor.
I move the bill number 7567 be placed on second and final reading and passes ordinance number 9364.
Second.
Wow.
Councilmember Stewart,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Farr,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong,
No.
Councilmember Saper,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Tull,
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger.
Yes, ma'am.
7 to 1 motion carried. An ordinance adopting and approving a non-exclusive temporary license agreement by and between the city of North Kansas City, Missouri as licensee and 127 Swift LLC and 401 Armor LLC, collectively licensor for the temporary use of a certain parking lot owned by licensor. Number 12. Contract for on-call planning services, resolution number 20-079.
Thank you. I'd like to call on the Community Development Director, Sarah Copeland.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The city uses Gould Evans to provide on-call planning services when we need additional staff capacity or to provide additional expertise. And our contract with Gould Evans for on-call services has expired. We recommend entering into a new contract for them to continue to provide this service to us. The contract that's before you for approval is largely the same as the previously approved contract, with some changes to Section 5 term related to extending contract renewals. I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have about this.
Councilmember Tull and Councilmember Saper.
I am sure that this is a great company to work with. It's just, this has happened a few times now as contracts, since I've been on, as contracts come up, and this is a 3-year contract. Why do we not put these out to bid is my question, because we have contracts with other entities, and so far I haven't seen anything with more than one recommendation.
Right, this is not a service that we would put out to bid. It's something that we would choose based on qualifications. And so they're a qualified firm that knows us well. That's why we recommended renewing this contract.
Yeah, if I might build on that, if I may build on that, just, I'm sorry, Lisa, do you mind if I just build on Sarah's answer? So as Sarah says, this is professional services are bid out based upon qualifications. We do qualification-based selection. So if we are happy with someone who has performed this work for us, we're happy with the price that they're offering us. If we put it out to bid, as you say, because we don't put professional services contracts by law, we have to base them on qualifications, not on price. So if we put this out and we all allowed other planning firms to come to us and say, we can provide these services to you, And Gould Evans came to us and they say, we can provide these services to you too. And we've been doing it for 15, 20 years. We would certainly, as staff, be recommending, based upon their qualifications, based upon the good service they've been providing, the same firm to you. So as Sarah says, when we brought these to you, and we do sometimes, and we recommend them that they be renewed. For professional services, that is a very common practice for cities to do, because if you're happy with the company that you have, if you put it out for qualifications-based selection, you'd almost certainly be recommending the same firm to the city council again. And to put the firms through the work of having to submit their qualifications, to put staff through the work of doing it, when the answer is almost a foreordained conclusion, doesn't make good sense. So for professional services contracts, if we are happy with the service, and occasionally we have brought them to, we have put them out for them to submit for qualifications when we have become unhappy with the service we've been provided by those professional services firms. But in this case, we are happy with the services provided by Gould Evans. And so that's why we are simply recommending renewal to you. Does that make sense, Anderson?
I hear what you're saying. I think that even if you are happy, I'm guessing, what I'm gathering is you would recommend them no matter what, and it causes extra work for no reason. What I'm looking at it from a different side is, even if you put it out to bid and they're a few $100s off of other people, we're certainly capable of understanding, well, yeah, they're a few $100s more, but they're really good, and we recommend that. And I would totally understand that. I know that the cheapest option is not always the best option, but I mean, I think this is the third thing that there's only one person here, and I can't help but wonder, how do we know that it's not just a stamp of approval and they're way off base on what they're charging? I hear what you're saying, but
there are no services for Gould Evans to bid on. This is an on-call contract, so we would ask people for their qualifications, not for a price, because it's possible that Gould Evans does no work for us in the coming year. There's just nothing for them to provide a price. And so we choose based on qualifications. And they are, because of their knowledge of the subject matter, but also their knowledge of North Kansas City, I don't believe that there's a more qualified firm in the metro area.
Yeah, that's why it was an easy one to talk about, because I agree. There was nothing that I could see that was wrong with making this move, but it was just a point that I wanted to bring up. So it would not be for this one. So we'll just keep asking until we find when there's an appropriate item to go out to bid.
As we said, for professional services firms, that we would operate in a different way than we would for, say, construction, where we would always say, yes, we should go back out to bid after a few years. Councilmember Sapern and Councilmember Smith.
Yeah, the point that Lisa made is very, very germane here. We've had many of these come up, a number of them at least. And I know that some cities do have ordinances requiring bidding on any contract over a certain amount, say $5,000. That contributes to a more transparent and open city government. Now, I have no problem with Gould Evans, as Lisa mentioned, but it creates almost a bad taste in the mouth not to go ahead and be open and put these out for bid. And it doesn't matter if they're services or not.
Councilmember Smith.
Yeah, there is no dollar volume on this. It's not a price, so there wouldn't be a 5,000 de minimis limit. There isn't a price. So the one thing that I do see is the last page, Exhibit B, schedule of compensation. Looking at prices on this is really the only price that we see. Is this in line with what other similarly qualified firms would charge? If not, that's when I think we should start looking at, in line with qualifications, how much they charge for those qualifications. So if we hold their capabilities equal, is one firm charging $245 an hour for their principal when another would be charging $185? That's where the bid process, or at least a compensation study, would be useful to say, are we overpaying for this or not? And it wouldn't have to be a formal bid process necessarily, because I would imagine these rates are published. So if we look around and see what other firms are charging, if this is in line, then we're good.
Sarah, did you have any comments on price based upon what you know?
These hourly rates are in line with what other firms would charge. It's possible that they're a bit low. When I was in consulting, I charged my time at $125 an hour, and that was 10 years ago. So yes, I would say that these are in line with current hourly rates in the industry.
Councilmember Stewart.
Yeah, I can see both sides of that, but it'd be kind of hard for to put it out for bid like we do construction stuff, because how do they know what we're going to ask them to do? And we may not use them at all. And I mean, how can you bid on something like that unless you just do the hourly thing like some lawyers do, I guess. But yeah, I like the way we do it now.
And again, I want to try to make it clear, for professional services, we actually are not permitted by law to base it on price. What we have to do is base it upon who we deem to be the best qualified. Then we negotiate with them, make sure that, for example, as Councilmember Smith said, that the prices are reasonable. And if so, that is who we will always recommend to you, because it's required that for professional services, that is the way that you get competitive proposals. You do not actually put it out to bid, and you do not base it upon who gives you the lowest price, because with professional services, you will get what you pay for if you go that route. It's as I say, I understand that it can be difficult to understand the difference between professional services and other services, but that is how we go about when we have professional services items. I'm sorry, who was next? Councilmember
I'm the only one raising my hand.
Sorry.
I just wanted to say I completely understand what you're saying. And going out to bid would have been the wrong way to face it. I was looking at the hourly rate schedule, like Jesse had pointed out. So I understand what you're saying. It makes sense. I'm so glad that I asked it. I fully understand it now. So thank you.
Councilmember Smith.
Eric, you know that law offhand? I've not heard about this. I'd just be curious to read up on.
No, but I'd be happy. I don't have it in front of me, sir, but I can. There is statute actually that discusses professional services contracts and requires that you go out on that basis. So I'll get you more information about that.
Actually, I can provide you a memo that I did years ago. I'm assuming it's the same law still in effect. So I'll verify that it is, but I'll be glad to give you the memo. There's an equivalent federal statute as well for federal projects. So just so you know, it's qualifications based, and what Mr. Berlin said is absolutely correct.
Sure, no doubt to what you're saying. I just want to brush up on what the
sure.
Is. Thanks.
Move to approve.
Second.
You get that, Crystal?
I think so. Councilmember Stewart?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Farr?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
No.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Tull?
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger?
Yes, ma'am.
7-1, motion carried. Number 13, site-specific code modification, North Kansas City Hospital, resolution number 20-078.
Thank you. I'd like to call on Ms. Copeland.
Site-specific code modification is to allow roof drains to be combined in order to accommodate a proposed new generator plant for North Kansas City Hospital. This is something that our building official, David Harris, has worked out in consultation with the design engineer for the hospital to allow this project to move forward. David would be happy to answer any questions about this, but we would ask your approval.
Councilmember Clark.
I guess just was anything discussed with Pat, stormwater management, anything like that?
This concerns the private drainage. It's not connected to our public system.
Okay, it's all sort of internally drained within the parameters of North Kansas City Hospital. Sorry.
Yes. David, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Move to approve.
Second.
Second.
Councilmember Stewart,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Farr,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong,
Yes.
Councilmember Saper,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith, Councilmember Tull,
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger.
Yes, ma'am.
8-0, motion carried. Number 14, Seventh Amendment Employment Agreement with Eric Berlin, Bill number 7568, ordinance number 9365.
Thank
First-
you. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Stewart,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Farr,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong,
Yes.
Councilmember Saper,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Tull,
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger.
Yes.
8-0, motion carried. An ordinance approving and adopting Seventh Amendment Addenda to Employment Agreement by and between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri, and Eric Berlin, City Administrator.
I move the bill number 7568 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9365.
Second.
Councilmember Stewart,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Farr,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong,
Yes.
Councilmember Saper,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Tull,
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger.
Yes, ma'am.
8-0, motion carried. An ordinance approving and adopting Seventh Amendment Addenda to Employment Agreement by and between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri, and Eric Berlin, City Administrator. Number 15, approving accounts due and payable by the city through December 11th, 2020. Bill number 7569, ordinance number 9366.
First reading.
Second.
Councilmember Stewart,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Farr,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong,
Yes.
Councilmember Saper,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Tull, Councilmember Clevenger.
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through December 11th, 2020.
I move that bill number 7569 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9366.
Second.
Councilmember Stewart,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Farr,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong,
Yes.
Councilmember Saper,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Tull,
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger.
Yes, ma'am.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through December 11th, 2020.
Thank you. Next item is staff comments. We do have a number of reports in your packet for your review. Be happy to try to answer any questions about them if we can. And I'd like to call on the Assistant City Administrator, Kim Nakahoto, for a report.
Evening, Mayor and Council. I would like to report that the Joint First Suburbs Coalition and the Communities for All Ages Recognition Review Committee has reviewed our Communities for All Ages recognition application for the gold level, and they have approved North Kansas City's gold level recognition. I would like to invite anybody that would like to attend. any of the council members that would like to attend. The award will be presented on Friday, January 15th. The meeting begins at 8 o'clock, and from what I understand, the recognition portion will begin at 8:30 a.m. If you are interested in participating in that meeting, it will be virtual. I would ask that you send me a note, and I'd be happy to get you registered for this event. Again, congratulations to the City Council for all of your help and all of your stewardship to help us achieve this recognition. Thank you again.
Thank you, Councilmember DeLong.
No, I just want to thank staff for continuing to work on that. It takes a lot of work, and as you get further in this, it just gets, progressively more difficult to get to the next stage. So, I mean, I hope we really take a look and reflect on a lot of this stuff and continue to use what we've learned into the future. But thank you, staff, for getting us here.
Thank you. The next item is council member comments. We'll begin with Councilmember Stewart.
Yeah, I guess the leaf pickup's over. The guys and gals, whoever did it, did a good job, I think. I want to welcome back one of the retired policemen, Rick Landon. He's going to be the meter maid. I know him very well. That's why I call him the meter maid. And I may not be on the council much longer. I've sent an email to President-elect Biden offering to be the ambassador to Ireland. So we'll see how that goes. And that's about it. Thank you.
Councilmember Clark.
I would just say thanks again to the CEO over at North Kansas City Hospital. I don't know why his name just left me. And also, yeah, the Leading the Way Award. Great job, city administration. And I hope we can make some great progress. I think we've worked to make great strides to balance our Complete Streets project, planning for the future, not just today and how things feel today, but for the future when we're looking at maybe less cars and looking at different opportunities for transportation. So that's about it.
Councilmember Farr.
Eric, congratulations. I'm glad to have you for another year. It's been good having you here. And Rick, when you get to be ambassador, you can take me on as your mate or whatever. I'll help you. That's all.
Thank you, Councilmember Farr. I do appreciate the council taking the action it took earlier tonight. Councilmember DeLong.
I definitely wish Councilmember Stewart the best of luck in that pursuit. And hopefully that works out. It sounds like a pretty good retirement plan there from the council. So I hope that works out well for him. Outside of that, everyone stay safe out there. We're the vaccine's out. We're turning a corner here. We just got to make it to these next several months. So let's not get too complacent yet. One more thing. The 10 p.m. So there's a lot of questions about, what 10 p.m. meant from the Clay County order. And I didn't want to get too deep into this really, but I did email Clay County Health about that. And they did reply they're going to treat the 10 p.m. closing time similar to how Kansas City, Missouri is. So without getting too specific, that's as broadly as I'll put it. So if you know what Kansas City's doing, I mean, serving has to be concluded by 10, but people are allowed to finish up and then leave. So I just wanted everyone to know that. And if you have any more questions, you can email me and I'll send you the email they sent back or put you in direct contact with Clay County Health on that one. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Councilmember Saper.
Yeah, this is the 6th night of Hanukkah. And to all those who celebrate it, I would like to wish Chag Sameach, happy Hanukkah. Soon we'll have Christmas, Kwanzaa, and other holidays coming up. To all those who celebrate those, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and we've got a new year coming up as well. Hopefully we're beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel with our COVID, but we must remember we're still in the tunnel. So we have to keep practicing all the various things we've been told and taught in common sense to do our best to stay healthy, and to everyone a healthy and happy new year.
Councilmember Smith.
Okay, so thank you very much to Dr. Reinches for jumping on the call with us. That's his name, Amy. Also, thank you to all the frontline folks dealing with COVID that are healthcare workers, first responders. Thank you so much to them. Police, fire, you're all doing just wonderful work. We really do appreciate you. We don't say it enough. And I did also want to echo Brian's statement about the 10 p.m. cutoff. We've had some businesses and some stakeholders in the community asking about it. And just that Clay County is the one enforcing this, and their interpretation is last call, not get out at 10 p.m. Thanks.
Councilmember DeLong.
Just to backtrack, I didn't want to tread lightly there. I mean, that's generally the order. They're wanting people to get out. They don't want you to linger. Like you said, the objective is serve, finish up those last drinks. As closer to 10, the better, really. But yeah, definitely reach out to them for direct guidance, because that is the best source to go now for how they're going to interpret their own order. So, sorry, just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Councilmember Tull.
I wanted to say congratulations again to the city. I think how we have these meetings set up and we all have to take turns, it's hard to show how excited we are and how awesome it is that you guys just keep racking up the awards for a job well done. I mean, that's extremely impressive. And I feel like if we were all in person, you could feel how excited we are for you. So that's wonderful. I just wanted to say that again. And then also thank you for the update from North Kansas City Hospital. I think it really helps us as a community understand how we need to work together to get through these next few months. And then my last statement, because I know we're bringing this back on our next meeting, is delineators. If you hate delineators, and I know most of you out there do, the best fix is to get to those intersections. That's where the delineators are the most confusing. So if we want it to feel complete, and we want to get rid of those ugly delineators, we have to move forward and get to those intersections.
And Councilmember Clevenger.
Just a couple of things. Ditto on Dr. Righteous and North Kansas City Hospital for coming in and talking to us, and for the great work that they do. Also, I don't know if anybody's brought it up, but happy birthday to our mayor today. It's his birthday, so happy birthday to him. And also congrats to Rick on his ambassadorship, hopefully there for Ireland. Ditto on a Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah and the happy holidays to everyone. We'll see you next year. Hopefully 2021 will be a much better year than 2020 was for us. And just also a ditto on congrats to the city and staff and all the people that provide customer service and the services that the city does for the ETC award. That's it.
And Mayor Stila.
I think it's all been said.
Number 19, consideration of a request to hold and recess into an executive session as requested by the city administrator to be held on this date on a real estate matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statutes 610.0212.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Stewart,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Farr,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong,
Yes.
Councilmember Saper,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith, Councilmember Smith.
Maybe frozen.
Oh, he's frozen.
Yeah, he's frozen.
Gosh.
I say yes if you need to skip him.
I thought he's deep in thought.
Yes, I'm back now. Yeah, my internet cut out. Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Tull,
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger.
Yes, ma'am.
8-0, motion carried. Number 20, consideration of a request to hold and recess into an executive session as requested by the city administrator to be held on this date on a real estate matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute 610.0212.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Stewart,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Farr,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember DeLong,
Yes.
Councilmember Saper,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Tull,
Yes.
Councilmember Clevenger.
Yes, ma'am.
Merry Christmas to all of you.
Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
All right, everyone, we'll see you in the executive session. Please go to your link that you were emailed. All right. I think I'm seeing 5.
2, 3, 4, 5. Yes.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All
All
in
in
favor?
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Happy
Bye-bye.
holidays.
Happy
Happy Merry
holidays.
Christmas. Happy holidays.